For all my hip-hop / NBA fans out there, y'all already know we got a super intriguing semifinals matchup between the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. And there's a hip-hop element to it. Meek versus Drake. We know these two were friends, then beefing. They were going bad, then going good. You know, they've had their ups and downs. Right now they're up, and you know they're going to be talk to each other during this Eastern Conference matchup here, this Battle of Goliaths. Reportedly, Drake will be in Philadelphia for a game or two when his Raptors are on the road. And Meek Mill would like to be in Toronto for a game or two to support his 76ers, but the judicial system ain't working with him. Find out what happened to Meek Mill shortly. Real quick, if you have not done so, I greatly appreciate all the support I've gotten. Over 200 likes in the last 24 hours. I have a Facebook account, and to be honest with you, we're going to be able to do more than we do on YouTube. So if you got a Facebook, pull your phone out right now and please log in and like your boy on Facebook. Mr. Taliaferro is Mr. Taliaferro. We're going to be able to get away with a lot more. I'm going to be dropping videos on Facebook just like how I do on YouTube. Maybe it's a quicker service for you to get your news. Please tap into my Facebook right now, like my page, and you get up-to-date content from your boy. Let's get into this video. Now, Meek Mill is trying to make his way to Toronto for game 1 or game 2, and right now his access is being denied. For those who don't know, Meek Mill is technically still out on probation. I know you see Meek Mill on tour in Florida, living it up on the yachts, living his best life. I know you see Meek Mill enjoying himself nowadays, but he's still out on probation, and every time he moves around, he has to get it cleared. No matter where he's going, the paperwork's got to be in order. That's been a problem for Meek and his team in the past. He's gotten in trouble for that, not clearing certain things with the judge and going and doing them anyway. And Meek Mill's on top of it. I've heard he's really on top of it nowadays, getting everything cleared in advance, making sure all the proper protocols are done, not just making surprise trips, kind of laying low. And I'm happy for Meek, man. No trouble since he's been out, and it looks like he's living a good life right now. That good life will not include being in Toronto for game 1 or game 2 of this Eastern Conference matchup. So Meek Mill, as soon as, obviously, you got to wait until you know if the Philadelphia 76ers is going to make it to the next round. Then you got to wait to see who they're playing. So as soon as Meek Mill found out that the Sixers would be playing the Raptors, apparently his team reached out to his probation officer and asked for permission to travel and go to the games. Number one, that's out of the country. And also, again, he has to get every time he moves, he has to get all that cleared. And his probation officer signed off on the request with no issue. The probation officer was like, yo, enjoy yourself, have a good time in Toronto. Meek's got to go through another checkpoint, though. And this one was not as friendly. Judge Janice Brinkley, this infamous black judge that has, I guess, had some type of vendetta out for Meek Mill, she has not responded to Meek Mill's request. And she is putting it on that she's got other stuff going on, and she's not going to just put Meek's request at the forefront. She's keeping him in order, right? Treating him like just anybody, a regular person who's got to go through the system. And she's saying she wasn't able to get to it in time before the game, meaning Meek Mill can't go to the Toronto Raptors Philadelphia 76ers game 1 or 2 because he didn't get cleared in time, and the judge isn't making it a point of emphasis to go out of her way just because Meek wants to go to a game. Now, Meek's really tight with Michael Rubin. That is one of the Philadelphia 76ers owners, actually one of their main owners, and Michael Rubin has had Meek Mill's back from the very beginning. As soon as he found out Meek was getting treated unfairly, and he's been very vocal and used his very wealthy bank account to help Meek gain his freedom. And now Michael Rubin has used his social media account to express his displeasure with Meek Mill's situation. He said, Judge Janice Brinkley, I know you have a vendetta against Meek Mill and you're obsessed with trying to control every aspect of his life. But did you really not approve him to go rep the Sixers in Toronto for the game? Do you also hate Philly? As soon as the schedule came out, Meek asked probation for approval. They immediately approved. Yes, for everyone who doesn't understand, Meek must still get the judge's approval personally every time he leaves Pennsylvania, since he's still on probation 12 years later for a crime he didn't commit. We filed with your court as soon as the schedule came out, since you need to approve travel to Canada. Since you didn't approve or didn't respond to numerous phone calls and emails, we even sent a lawyer to the courthouse today. And most importantly, if this happens to Meek, what do you think happens to the average person who can't afford great lawyers, etc., who's on probation? First and foremost, this is some other rich people talk. They pissed off about a person not being able to travel out of the country for a basketball game. All right, let me just make that clear. There are bigger issues going on in our country than worrying about Meek Mill going to a basketball game or not. This is some other rich people shit. I do think it's worth noting that this is different for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. The way this situation is set up is just a little bit different to me. We don't see this one quite that often in our country. We have the white owner of a basketball team going out of his way to take up for the young black male against the very, very, very empowered black female. All right. So there's a lot of symbolism going on right here. To me, a lot of first timers. So bear with me here. Here's what I think is happening in Meek's situation with Judge Janice Brinkley. And it really depends on what you believe, right? I'm not going to answer this question. I believe this is a conversation of, do you think Meek Mill deserves better rights than the typical human being? All right, now let me argue both sides of this. First off, if you think Meek Mill should be treated differently than most people who are incarcerated or go through the system or on probation, parole, whatever, maybe you do because he's very important to the city of Philadelphia. We can't act like Meek doesn't do more for the city than just a typical person. No offense to anybody. I'm just saying Meek Mill's a very important figure. He employs a lot of people. He gives back. He does Christmas drives, toy drives. And many would argue out there that if Meek were of another race, then he would be treated differently. Hence, people like Robert Kraft, who's in the middle of a sex trafficking investigation right now. Again, do you think Meek Mill deserves more privileges than the typical person that goes through the system because he probably makes more money than the typical person who goes through the system and does more for people? Let me play the other side of this. Maybe Judge Janice Brinkley is just treating Meek Mill like everyone else. She's not trying to give him more rights than anyone else. And if this random dude who's on probation, if he can't get a request turned around in 24 hours to travel out of the country, or 72 hours, whatever it was, right? Maybe she's not going to allow Meek Mill to get it either, right? What if she's just saying, nah, bro, it takes a week or two for you to get these travels cleared. Just because you're rich doesn't mean I'm going to allow you to just on the fly make this move. That's the point of being on probation or whatever. Some of your rights are restricted, right? Maybe she's looking at it like that. No, I'm not treating him better than anyone else. Again, many would argue if Meek was of a different race, somebody who was on probation would get different treatment. I'm not going to answer that question. I'm just breaking down both sides of this equation as to why this could be happening right now. Y'all talk to me in the comment box below. Y'all give me y'all input on that. Again, let me run that back for you guys. Judge Janice Brinkley has not responded to Meek's request to travel to Toronto. When it's out the country, not only does the probation officer have to clear it, the judge does have to clear it as well, the presiding judge, and that is still Janice Brinkley, who's given Meek fits over the last decade or so. They've had their issues, to say the least. Maybe she's just not putting Meek at the forefront because she's treating him like every other person that goes through the system. And then there's another side that would say, yo, Meek's doing a lot for people. He should be above some of the rules and regulations because he's a very special individual for the Philadelphia. And maybe this judge doesn't understand his power and what he does. Also, Drake did comment on this situation via his Instagram account, I guess showing a little bit of support for his friend as of right now, Meek Mill. he did say they got to let Meek into the city. It's only right. We got a classic series on our hands at Michael Rubin, at Meek Mill. That's probably not going to work, bro. But, hey, at least Meek's getting a lot of support from his peers. I'm out. I came from nothing, but I want everything God has for me. I interview celebrities. I talk sports. I still represent the culture.
I got the kids. You are now tuned in.
Yo, we locked in right now,
Mr. TALIAFERRO. Mr. TALIAFERRO.
Mr. TALIAFERRO.
Mr. TALIAFERRO.
Shout out to Mr. TALIAFERRO.
You're watching Mr. TALIAFERRO TV.
Mr. TALIAFERRO TV. Here with the triple B's, you can't do nothing but win.